Have you ever looked in the mirror and quietly wondered, where did my energy go? The strength you once counted on feels a little distant now. The connection with your partner isn't quite the same. And yet, everyone says the same thing. You're just getting older. But what if that explanation is missing something important? What if the real issue isn't your age at all, but something happening quietly inside your body? Something you can actually do something about? Hi, I'm Dr. Mark. After more than 30 years of helping men over 60 reclaim their vitality and confidence, I've learned that the key often lies in something most people overlook: circulation. When your blood stops flowing freely, everything else slows down with it. Your energy, your focus, even your intimacy. And here's where it gets surprising. One of the simplest tools to help restore that flow might already be in your kitchen. A food you've probably heard mixed messages about for years. But used the right way, it can make a real difference. So stay with me. In just a moment, I'll show you how something as ordinary as an egg can help you feel more like yourself again. Let's begin. 1. A common struggle for men over 60, poor circulation. When I first began caring for men in their 60s and beyond, I noticed something quietly universal. It wasn't shouted, never rushed into the room. It came softly. A pause, a sigh, a man looking down and saying in a low voice, "Doc, I just don't feel like myself anymore." At first, many would blame the passing years. They'd mention age like it was a verdict they had to accept, a trade for the gift of time. But as I sat with them longer, listened more closely, and dug into the real stories their bodies were telling, I found that age alone wasn't the culprit. The deeper truth was about circulation. You see, as we age, the highways inside us, the blood vessels that carry oxygen, warmth, nutrients, and life, start to change. The inner lining of our arteries becomes less flexible. Tiny plaques begin to form, like slow traffic on a once clear road. Over time, the flow narrows. It doesn't stop all at once, but little by little, the effects start to show. First, it's in the fingers and toes, that cool sensation that doesn't leave, even with socks in a warm room. Then it's the dip in energy that hits earlier each day. That afternoon walk that once felt refreshing now feels heavier, and in the quiet moments that matter most, those intimate, connecting moments with someone you love, you might notice your body hesitating, not the way it used to be. These aren't just small annoyances, they're messages. Your body is whispering that the energy, the vitality, the spark you once had is being held back. Not because you're broken, not because you're finished, but because the flow has changed. And here's the part that hurts me most as a doctor and a friend to so many men. Most don't realize they can do something about it. They're handed a prescription and told this is just part of getting older. They're offered a bandage, not a solution. But I want to tell you something very different. Something I've learned from walking this path with thousands of men over the past few decades. You are not powerless. Your body is still listening, still willing, still capable of healing, restoring, and moving forward. You just have to give it the right kind of support, and that support doesn't have to come from a bottle. Sometimes it starts in the most familiar places. Take the egg, humble, ordinary, often misunderstood. But what if I told you this simple food held surprising power? What if, when prepared with care and respect, it could help nourish the very blood vessels that feed your heart, your muscles, and your sense of connection? It may sound too simple, too everyday to matter, but when you understand how the right nutrients can help rebuild what time and stress have worn down, suddenly the egg becomes more than breakfast. It becomes a symbol of something greater. That healing isn't always about invention. Sometimes it's about returning to what is real, what is whole, and what your body still knows how to use. So if this message is speaking to you, if some part of you has been wondering whether it's too late to feel strong again, I hope you'll stay with me. Drop a number 1 in the comments to let me know you're here, that you're not ready to settle, because we're just getting started, and what comes next might just surprise you. Let's keep going. Your next chapter deserves a stronger rhythm and a fuller heart. Let me show you how it can begin. 2. The serious risks of poor circulation. Poor circulation is not just a nuisance or one of those things we chalk up to age. It's a quiet, stubborn condition that can steal away pieces of your well-being without ever raising its voice. Over the years, I've had countless men sit across from me and describe what they thought were isolated issues: cold feet that never warm up, a little lightheadedness when standing, sluggish mornings that stretch into long, unfocused afternoons. But when we took a closer look, these weren't isolated. They were all part of the same picture. Circulation is life's delivery system. Every breath you take, every thought you form, every movement you make relies on the steady rhythm of blood flowing through your body. And when that rhythm falters, the effects can show up anywhere and everywhere. The heart, of course, takes the first hit. When arteries become stiff or narrow, the heart has to push harder, like trying to water a garden through a kinked hose. This extra effort raises your blood pressure, taxes your heart muscle, and leaves you feeling drained even when you've done very little. I remember a man named Harold. He was 68, a retired electrician, strong hands, kind eyes. He told me he had always prided himself on staying active. He still played golf twice a week, watched what he ate, and took walks every evening. But lately, he said, his body just didn't cooperate. He felt like he was walking through sand. After running some tests, we discovered that his arteries were significantly narrowed. His heart was working overtime just to get blood to where it needed to be. And Harold, who had done everything right, was exhausted because his heart was carrying more than its share of the weight. But the heart isn't the only place that suffers. When circulation slows, the brain notices too. I've had men describe a kind of mental haze that settles over them. They forget names. They lose their train of thought. They feel like they're in the room, but not quite in the moment. One man said it felt like he was behind glass, watching life happen without fully being part of it. That disconnection can be unsettling. It's not about memory loss. It's about the brain not getting the oxygen and nutrients it needs to stay sharp and responsive. And when your mind starts to feel distant from your life, it changes how you show up in the world. Then, there's the part no one wants to talk about, but everyone feels. The intimate side of circulation. The smallest blood vessels in the body are often found in the places we hold dearest. That means they are also the first to show signs of poor flow, when arousal becomes difficult, when responses are slower or incomplete. Many men quietly blame themselves. They wonder if they've lost something they can never get back. But what I want you to know is this: these moments don't define your worth. They don't erase your identity. They are your body's way of asking for support. I've had men sit in silence, eyes on the floor, grieving the loss of a connection they once held with ease. They think they're broken. They think it's over. And I tell them, gently and with full conviction, it's not. Your body hasn't given up. It's trying to get your attention. And the good news is, there's so much you can do to support it. You don't have to start with something extreme. Sometimes, the first step is small, quiet, unassuming, like what you choose to eat in the morning, or what you add to your plate at dinner. Sometimes healing begins with something so ordinary you barely notice it sitting in your kitchen. But when you use it the right way, it becomes a tool, a signal to your body that you're ready to reclaim strength, energy, and presence. And believe it or not, that tool might just be an egg. Let me show you why. 3. Eggs, a simple overlooked solution. If someone had told me 3 decades ago that a humble egg could help reignite circulation, energy, and even intimacy in older men, I probably would have raised an eyebrow. Like many others in the medical field at the time, I believed the usual warnings. Eggs were blamed for cholesterol issues, heart trouble, and clogged arteries. We were trained to fear them, to recommend egg whites only or avoid them altogether. But life and real experience have a way of teaching you what textbooks can't. Over the years, I began noticing something the science wasn't saying loudly enough. When men stopped fearing real, whole foods and started embracing nutrition rooted in nature, their health didn't decline. In many cases, it began to turn around, not through pills or drastic measures, but through quiet, consistent care for their bodies. One story that has stayed with me is about a man named Frank. He was 72, a retired school principal. Thoughtful and dignified, he came to see me not because he was ill, but because he felt distant from himself. He told me, with a quiet kind of honesty. "I'm here, but I don't feel fully alive. I miss how I used to feel with my wife. I miss feeling strong." We talked at length about his sleep, his energy, how he spent his days. Then I asked him a simple question. "What do you eat for breakfast?" He smiled and said, "Just coffee, maybe a piece of toast." For years, Frank had avoided eggs. Like many of his generation, he was told they were dangerous. But what he didn't know was that inside that shell was a powerhouse of nutrients his body had been quietly craving. Eggs contain choline, which helps keep the lining of your blood vessels flexible and strong. They have arginine, a building block for nitric oxide, which your body uses to open the arteries and support smooth blood flow. They're rich in B vitamins that help red blood cells deliver oxygen more efficiently throughout the body. And when you choose pasture-raised, organic eggs, you get healthy fats that support hormonal balance and energy. I gently encourage Frank to bring eggs back into his mornings, not fried in heavy oils, not buried under processed meats, but prepared gently with care, poached, soft scrambled, or boiled. A few weeks later, Frank returned with a different energy. His eyes were brighter. He sat taller. He smiled as he told me, "I didn't know food could make me feel like this again." And he wasn't the only one. Over time, I've heard similar stories from many men who made this quiet shift. Adding eggs back to their routine was more than a change in diet. It was a return to nourishment, a return to themselves. But I always offer a word of caution. While eggs can be deeply supportive, there's a right way and a wrong way to enjoy them. If you prepare them poorly, pair them with the wrong ingredients, or eat them in ways that cancel out their benefits, the very thing that could help your arteries could end up doing harm. That's why the next step is so important. I'll show you what to avoid and how to make sure eggs become an ally in your journey back to strength. Clarity and connection. If you're still here, still watching and nodding along, go ahead and type the number 1 in the comments. It helps me know this message is reaching those who need it most. And now, let's move forward to point number 4. You're doing better than you think. 4. Warning. Using eggs the wrong way can be harmful. It's amazing, isn't it? How something as simple as an egg can carry so much potential. It can be a quiet force for healing, strength, and restoration. Or, if prepared without care, it can slowly work against you. I've seen it more often than I'd like to admit. A man starts making better choices, brings eggs back into his routine with hope in his heart, only to find that the benefits never seem to arrive. Instead of feeling energized, he feels heavier, slower, and more frustrated than before. One story that comes to mind is from a man named Gerald. He was 68, a retired contractor with hands like carved stone, and a work ethic that never left him. Even in retirement, Gerald had heard that eggs were good for circulation and heart health, so he started eating them daily, after a few months. Though, he came to see me feeling more tired than usual. His joints were stiff, his mind felt foggy. He even mentioned feeling more on edge, snapping at his wife over small things, which was not like him at all. I asked him, gently, how he was preparing his eggs. With a chuckle, he said, "Same way I've always done it. Fry them up in vegetable oil, toss in some bacon, maybe a slice of buttered toast on the side." That one sentence explained everything. What many don't realize is that how you cook your eggs is just as important as the eggs themselves. When you fry them in oils like corn, soybean, or canola, especially at high temperatures, you create compounds that promote inflammation inside your arteries. These oils are cheap and common, but they change when exposed to heat, producing oxidized fats that silently irritate and stiffen your blood vessels. It's the opposite of what we want for better circulation. Then, there's the matter of what you eat alongside those eggs. Processed meats like bacon and sausage might bring comfort or nostalgia, but they also bring loads of sodium, preservatives, and saturated fats that constrict blood vessels and increase your risk of heart issues. Pairing eggs with these foods cancels out their benefits before they even have a chance to help you. Another mistake I often see is overcooking. Scrambling eggs until they're rubbery or frying them until the edges are brown may feel familiar, but it destroys some of their most valuable nutrients. Choline. One of the key nutrients that supports brain function and artery flexibility begins to degrade under intense heat. The B vitamins that help oxygen move through your bloodstream can be lost too. What starts as a meal meant to nourish ends up offering little more than calories and frustration. And here's the hardest part. Most men doing this have the best intentions. They're trying to take control, to do something good for their bodies. But without the right information, even a good effort can quietly work against you. That's not your fault. It just means it's time for a small course correction. The encouraging news is that this is easy to fix. You don't need to give up eggs or feel discouraged. You just need to know how to prepare them in a way that protects their power. In the next section, we'll go step by step through the best methods for turning your eggs into a source of strength, not stress. So if you've ever stood at the stove and wondered if you're doing it right, stay with me. The answer might surprise you, and it might just make breakfast your favorite meal of the day again. Let's take this simple food and help it work for you, not against you. 5. Safe and effective ways to use eggs. Once you truly grasp what eggs can offer, and you understand how the wrong preparation can quietly undo all that potential, the next question becomes simple and honest. So how should I be using them? This is the part I always look forward to sharing, because it turns a small, familiar ingredient into something meaningful. When eggs are prepared with care, they become more than breakfast. They become nourishment for your heart, support for your mind, and a quiet bridge back to the sense of strength and connection that so many men think they've lost for good. What I recommend isn't complicated. In fact, its simplicity is what makes it powerful. Begin your day with 2 pasture-raised eggs, not the cheapest dozen on the shelf, but ones that come from hens allowed to live and move the way nature intended. These eggs are richer in nutrients, including omega-3s, antioxidants, and the essential building blocks your body needs, and then cook them gently. That means poached, soft-boiled, or scrambled low and slow in a small amount of olive oil or grass-fed butter. These methods preserve the choline that supports blood vessel health, the B vitamins that carry oxygen throughout your body, and the amino acids that help your blood vessels open up and relax. But don't stop with just the eggs. Build a plate that works together to restore flow and energy from the inside out. Add a handful of sautéed spinach or kale. These leafy greens are rich in natural nitrates, which the body converts into nitric oxide. This one compound alone can help your arteries widen, your blood pressure drop, and your body feel more awake and alive. Then add half an avocado, not just for the creamy texture or satisfying flavor, but because its healthy fats help support testosterone levels, brain clarity, and long-lasting energy. If you want to go one step further, sprinkle a little turmeric and black pepper together. They offer a natural anti-inflammatory boost that supports circulation and reduces the silent swelling that can slow everything down. You may be thinking, this sounds simple, and it is. But don't underestimate what a few quiet changes can do. I remember one man in particular, Dennis, 71, a retired music teacher who had struggled with cold hands and feet for years. He also felt like his memory had dulled and that conversations with his wife didn't flow the way they used to. After just 1 week of shifting his breakfast to include these ingredients, he came back and told me something I'll never forget. I feel like the lights came back on, he said. I'm not just remembering more, I'm feeling more. That's the power of circulation. When your blood flows better, everything else starts to move again. Your thoughts, your mood, your sense of presence. This isn't about trying to look younger or chasing some perfect version of health. It's about giving your body what it needs so it can return to what it was built to do. You're not reversing time. You're simply removing the obstacles that have been placed along the way. And when you do, what returns is not youth, but vitality, clarity, warmth, connection. This is not a diet. It's not a fad. It's a morning ritual grounded in care and consistency. So if you've been waiting for something real to begin with, something doable and lasting, start here. Start with eggs, with intention, and let your body show you what's still possible. Because even after 60, 70, or 80, you haven't run out of potential. You've just begun to unlock it. And now that you've seen how something as simple as an egg can help restore your energy, your clarity, and even your sense of connection, it's time to look at the bigger picture. Because while this small change may seem ordinary, the impact it can have on your circulation, your confidence, and your daily joy is anything but. After more than 30 years walking alongside men in their 60s, 70s, and beyond, I've learned this. Your body still wants to support you. It's not giving up. It's simply asking for something better. Those cold hands, that afternoon fatigue, those quiet moments when you don't quite feel like yourself. They're not signs of weakness, they're signs of need, and now you know how to respond. When you choose to nourish yourself with intention, when you cook gently, eat wisely, and listen closely, you begin to open doors again, not just in your blood vessels, but in your life. The egg becomes more than food. It becomes a daily reminder that healing is possible. So as you plan tomorrow's breakfast, do it with care. Ask yourself what might change if you started every morning like it mattered. Because it does. You matter. If this spoke to you, click subscribe so we can keep walking this road together. Share this message with someone who needs it. And before you go, drop a quick comment below. Just say, still here. You're not done growing. And your best days may just begin with a single, thoughtful bite. I'll see you in the next video. We've got more to build together.